Hi everyone, my name is Haley and welcome back or welcome to my channel. For today's video, I wanted to give you guys some spooky book recommendations for October and show you some of the books that are going to be on my spooky TBR as well. So it's just going to be a mashup of those two things. For today, we are going to be in front of my bookshelf. I have definitely spookified it. I have my little garlands, I have my taper candles, not lighting them obviously, and I also have, which you can't see, but my ginormous ghost mug with coffee. So I have everything I need for this video. If you want a snack, if you want coffee, go grab it now because we are about to get into all of these recommendations. Yummy. I haven't read every book on this list, but I own them because they are intriguing to me, so I thought I could just recommend those to you as well and see if you are interested in them also. So let's just get started. The first book I have is House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. I have had this probably for 2 years now and it is big. I don't know what this reading experience is going to be like, and that's why I haven't picked it up, just because it's going to be something that I've never really read before. And what I mean by that, well, let me tell you what it's about first. This is about a family that moves into a house and they realize that it is bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. And so the way this is written is like manuscripts and transcripts, and it's written that way because it is supposed to resemble like something that was being passed around on the internet and finally compiled into a book. So there is going to be a bunch of different mediums that this was written in, and now it's all compiled into a book. There is not just a regular typed out story in here. There is a ton of different ways this story is told, and so that's what I mean by like a very interesting and different reading experience. But I feel like the disorienting feeling that I am going to get reading it is definitely going to add to the disorienting feeling that you get by living in a house that is bigger on the inside than the outside. So I'm really excited to read this. I really want to get to it this year. I just want to know what it's about. I want to know what happens because I have avoided spoilers. So hopefully in my October wrap up I can have this on there. And the next book that I have on my list is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I'm sure this is not a new book to any of you. I have had it for a while now, and again I still haven't picked it up, so this is also going to be on my October TBR. So this follows our main character Alex Stern, and at the age of 20 she is the sole survivor of a very horrific homicide. And when she's in the hospital she is given a second chance, which is to attend one of the world's most elite colleges with a full ride, and that would be Yale. She's not really sure why she's given this opportunity, except that she has been asked to keep an eye on some of the secret societies that are a part of the university, and it seems like she is just going to be getting into something that she was not prepared for and a little bit in over her head. I think there is some sort of paranormal aspect to this book. Again, I haven't read it yet, so I'm really excited to get to it, and I'm really glad that the second one is out. I'm really excited to get to this. And the next book that I have on my list is None Shall Sleep by Ellie Marney. I believe this is a YA thriller, and I really love YA thrillers. I find they're more fast-paced and a little bit more fun than adult thrillers can be, so that's why I picked this up. I picked this up I think a couple years ago as well, and again I just have never gotten to it. I love the cover though, so pretty. So this is definitely on my October TBR. This follows two teenagers who are teaming up with the FBI to try and track down juvenile killers. It takes place in 1982, and one of our main characters, Emma Lewis, is a survivor of a murder, and the other character, Travis Bell, is a US Marshal candidate. And while Travis and Emma have formed a friendship and give the FBI information that they were not privy to themselves, they are pulled into an active case of someone who is only hunting teenagers. But in order to get any insight and crack the case, Emma and Travis have to turn to the most notorious teenage serial killer named Simon. But Simon, being the sociopath that he is, has his own sights set for a long game of manipulation and has Emma on his radar. So this is kind of giving Silence of the Lambs, where, you know, the main character is forming a friendship or work relationship with the killer. And then also it kind of reminds me of the story behind In Cold Blood by Truman Capote, where he wrote the book on these murders but ended up like forming a friendship with one of the murderers because he was convinced that they were innocent, and he found that they had a lot in common and kind of saw himself in the killer. So I guess Silence of the Lambs and In Cold Blood kind of gives me this vibe. So I'm really excited to read this because I love a turning to the murderer for answers type of story, and I feel like this will be really fun because it is a YA thriller. Next on this list we have Bunny by Mona Awad. As you can see, I'm already reading it, and I don't think I've picked this up for like 8 months, so when I do another finishing books I'm in the middle of, this will definitely be on the list. So this follows our main character named Samantha, and she is part of a grad school called Warren University where she is studying fiction writing, and there is a group of girls there that go by Bunny, or the Bunnies, and they're very secretive, selective, and Samantha hates them but is also kind of enthralled by them and curious. And one day they invite her to one of their gatherings, and she realizes that maybe things aren't as normal as they seem. Since I am in the middle of it, I don't know how it ends, obviously, so I'm still very curious about this myself, and maybe I will finish this month if I can find some other books I'm in the middle of and create a video around it. But this is more of a surrealistic book. If you are looking for a more straightforward thriller or horror, I don't think this would be for you, but if you're into like surrealism and things that like don't really make sense, this is for you. I don't know how to explain it. I love books that kind of are just weird, and this is definitely a weird book. Okay, I don't have the first book in this series, so this is the second one. This is Vanishing Stare from the Truly Devious series. I absolutely love the Truly Devious series. It's basically a murder mystery that takes place at a boarding school, and it spans across 3 books. And then there is also a spin-off, but I did not read that one. But if you really enjoy true crime podcasts and teenagers trying to figure out what went wrong, this is definitely for you. Our main character Stevie is obsessed with true crime podcasts, and the reason she got into Ellingham Academy is because it is her mission to solve the murders of the family of the Ellingham Academy. So everyone has to do like a big project to be at the school, and that is hers. So we just follow her trying to figure out what happens and unraveling things from the past and the present. So if you're looking for a series, I would definitely pick up Truly Devious. The next book I have is 19 Claws and a Blackbird by Augustina Basterica, who wrote Tender is the Flesh, which you will see later on in this video. This is a collection of short stories. I don't really read short stories, but I loved Tender is the Flesh, and I feel like if I'm in a reading slump, it might be good to pick this up because you can start a book or a story and then feel completed once it's over, and it's not that many pages. So I think this would be a good thing to turn to if I'm in a reading slump this October. This is definitely on my TBR. I've heard a lot of great things. I don't really know exactly what each story is about, but if you like short stories, if you enjoy horror, if you like Tender is the Flesh, all of those things or one of them, I would definitely put this on your radar, and I will let you know what I thought about it probably in my October wrap-up. The next book I have on my list is If We Were Villains by ML Rio. This is another one that is on my October TBR, and I know I am late to the game, but I recently just picked this up, and so I figured it would be a great time to read it. This book is about Oliver Marks, who has just been released from prison after 10 years for a murder that he might or might not have committed, and on his release day he is met by the person that put him in there. And so the detective on his case is retiring, but he really wants to know what happened the night of those murders. So a decade ago, Oliver was one of 7 actors studying Shakespeare at an elite arts college, but when there is some casting changes and some inner turmoil, one of the actors ends up dead. So they have to turn to their biggest acting role yet and convince the police that none of them are responsible. So it seems like it's going to be dual timeline, going back and forth between past and present, and I love books where us as the reader are also learning information at the same time as a character. Sometimes a reader is privy to information that a detective doesn't have yet, but I really love when both parties are learning together. I'm really excited to read this, and I wonder if I'll be able to predict what happens because for some reason I'm really good at that. So I really want to get to this, and let me know if you've read this and what you thought. The next book is kind of a palette cleanser, but I thought it'd be fun to include, and that is The X-Hex by Erin Sterling, and then also The Kiss Curse by her, which is the second book in this series, but I haven't read that one yet. But this is a romance book and the cover is just super cute. I love it. And I actually gave this 5 stars. It is second chance romance, which I usually hate, but I loved it in this book. So this follows a witch named Vivi, where she got her heart broken by a boy named Reese, who is a descendant of like the town's founders. And one night when she is drunk, she curses him. But now things are kind of going wrong in the town and there is some mysterious, malevolent force that is messing everything up. And Vivi and Reese have to work together to figure out what's going on and bring peace back to their little small town. This was just really fun, really cute, very quick read, super atmospheric, kind of gives Halloween Town vibes but for adults. So if that is what you're looking for this spooky season, I would definitely pick this up. Next we have House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland. I have also read this already. I loved it. I think I gave it like 4 or 4.5 stars. Also, this cover is just so stunning. But this book follows 3 sisters, the Hollow sisters, and something happened to them when they were children, but none of them can really remember quite what it was, but they just know that it kind of changed them for the rest of their lives. And so one day one of the sisters named Gray goes missing, and Iris, I'm pretty sure she is the youngest one, takes it upon herself to kind of figure out what happened. But as she is following the breadcrumbs that have been left, she realizes that life is not all like safe and happy. There are some very strange and weird things that go on. She also comes to the conclusion that in order to find her sister, she has to unearth what happened to them when they were children. If you are looking for like a really good standalone fantasy horror, I would definitely recommend this. It kind of feels like it could be part of a series, but it's all wrapped up in one book and is just like a perfect standalone for a YA horror. So I would definitely recommend this. She has a new book coming out, I think at the end of January, called The Invocations. Super excited to read that. So if you are interested in that, I would definitely pick this up before then so you can be familiar with her work. And this is just such a fun, atmospheric, spooky book. The next book that I would recommend I have also read, and this is I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. And I don't even really know how to explain this, so I'm gonna look at the Goodreads synopsis and tell you what it says. So it says, this deeply scary and intensely unnerving novel follows a couple in the midst of a twisted unraveling of the darkest unease. You will be scared, but you won't know why. I'm thinking of ending things. Once this thought arrives, it stays, it sticks, it lingers, it's always there. Always. Jake once said, sometimes a thought is closer to truth, to reality, than an action. You can say anything, you can do anything, but you can't fake a thought. And here's what I'm thinking. I don't want to be here. In this smart and intense literary suspense novel, Ian Reid explores the depths of the human psyche, questioning consciousness, free will, the value of relationships, fear, and the limitations of solitude. Tense, gripping, and atmospheric, I'm Thinking of Ending Things pulls you in from the very first page and never lets you go. I think this whole thing takes place like in the car on the way to a family dinner and then at the family's house. And I want to say it's like over one day and one night or something like that. But again, I don't even know how to explain it. I hope the Goodreads synopsis was enough to kind of get you intrigued. It's kind of like Bunny, where it is a weird book. You won't really know what's going on until the end, but it's very interesting. It keeps you hooked, and it's just one of those things that kind of can make you just feel like icky, but like not in a bad way. I don't know how to explain it. I like this book, and I think it's a good recommendation if you're looking for weird, unsettling is the word I was looking for. Weird and unsettling books this October. The next book on this list is also on my TBR, and that is My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. This follows our main character Jade Daniels, who is a 80s horror movie fanatic. She is able to like sniff out any inklings of a serial killer and what might be going on in this small town. And so when there is actual blood spilled in her small town, she is the one who thinks that she can solve it and predict everything that is going to happen. But I think even after she is predicting everything that happens, there is another layer to the story, and not everything is quite as it seems. I haven't read it yet, so I don't know much about the plot, but it seems really interesting to me. I love slasher movies. Like Scream is one of my favorite movies, and I feel like 80s and 90s slashers were just so fun, and they don't really, I mean, they still do make slashers, but but like the era of the best slashers was definitely in the 90s. So I'm really excited to see if this book will mirror that feeling I get when I watch slashers, and I feel like it'll be a fun time. I don't really read slasher books. They're usually like post-murder that these books take place, and so I'm curious to see like how relevant of a plot the actual killing is, because that would be really interesting to read about and see how an author can write it, because it is definitely something that is more visual. Like, it translates really well on screen, so I'm just curious to see how it is in a book. And so I hope that there is a decent amount of the slashing. I swear I'm a very normal person, but I'm really excited to read this, and I hope I can get to it this October. I promise we're almost done, but the next book that I have on this list is Plain Bad Heroines by Emily M. Danforth. I also have not read this yet, but it has been on my radar for quite a couple of years now, and so this book follows two timelines. In the beginning, it is 1902, and there are these two girls named Flo and Clara, and they are obsessed with this writer named Mary MacLane, and so they form this like secret club called the Plain Bad Heroines Club, and one day all three of them are found murdered at this school. They go to Brooke Hart's school for girls, and one day all three of them are found murdered with Mary's book open next to them, and it seems like they were attacked by a bunch of yellow jackets. And less than 5 years later, after that incident, the school closes down, but there were 3 more deaths that occurred before it closed. And so fast forward over a century later, there is this woman named Merritt Emmons who publishes a book about Brooke Hart's school for girls, and it gets picked up to be turned into a horror movie. And so Merritt and Harper and another actress named Audrey Wells and go to the site of Brooke Hart's school for girls to film this movie. But as they are there, they realize that maybe the past is not left in the past. So it seems like there is going to be dual timelines again. This kind of gives me the vibes of Truly Devious, where there is a murder on site a long time ago and people come to the same site in the present and things start to unravel. It is a really big book. I think, yeah, a little over 600 pages, so I hope that I can read this whole thing. It sounds very interesting and I've had it for a while now. I need to read it so that I can tick it off of my TBR. The next book that I have is A Certain Hunger by Chelsea G. Summers. This is also on my TBR and I just love the cover so much. But this book follows our main character named Dorothy Daniels, and she is a food writer and also seemingly a sex addict by what the back says. And so she travels from Manhattan to Italy to kind of get her share of both passions, and then one day she ends up murdering a man with an ice pick on Fire Island. And it says that after she does that, the world sees just how powerful a woman can be when she finally embraces her superiority. So this just gives like unhinged female main character vibes, which I'm always here for. I don't exactly know if it's a cannibalistic story, but based on the cover it gives that vibe. If that is a plot point, I'm here for it. If not, I'm still very interested to see what happens. Okay, we've made it to the last book, and that is Tender is the Flesh by Augustina Bazterrica. I've talked about this book so many times, but it literally lives in my head rent-free. I love it so much, and again, it has the cannibalism undertone. Not even an undertone, it's about cannibalism. So this book is basically about what would happen to society if all animals were not able to be consumed anymore because they carried a virus that was deadly to humans. And so now, instead of animal farming and mass production, it's humans that are being farmed and used for their meat. So that's the main premise in this book. We have our main character, and we see how he doesn't really enjoy living in this world, and how he navigates it, and just like how normalized it becomes to people in this society. So it's a very interesting idea. It really makes you think about like the agriculture industry as it is now, because it replaces the animals with humans, but the practices are still the same. So it makes you like learn about how cruel the agriculture industry is while making you think it's not about that. So I really love books like that. It really gets you thinking. The author is able to take something that is very normalized but also has a lot of critiques and put it in a book, and kind of just gives insight on that aspect of the world. Really interesting. I love that there is a deeper meaning to this, but there's also so many unlikable multiple characters in here, which I found really fun because usually I don't read books where there's multiple people where I'm just like, shut up. But I felt that way with this book. If you're looking for a horror or a thriller that will still like make you think about the world, I would definitely recommend Tender is the Flesh. So those were all of the books that were either on my October TBR or things that I wanted to recommend to you guys. I feel like there's a pretty good mix of things in there. I hope this was helpful to you. If you've read any of these books, please comment down below and let me know what you thought about them with no spoilers, please. And let me know what books are on your spooky TBR if they weren't in this list. I'm always looking for more books to add to my endless list. But if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, like, subscribe, all of that stuff. I hope you are staying safe and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!